The Barbie movie premiered this summer and everyone was just so obsessed with it. A lot of people were making videos on recreating the outfits from the movie, which is cool and all, but honestly the types of Barbie clothes that most inspired me wasn't from the movie, but instead from the fashion line, you know, Barbie Fashion Fever that came out when I was a kid. I absolutely loved that fashion line and I just wanted to have those clothes so bad. I would like to start making some clothes, starting with this cute 3-layered dress that I saw. It goes in at the under bust like an empire waist and it has 3 layers to it. It's really cute, really pink, and I found some fabric and so I decided to go ahead and design the dress in my planner as well. If you would like to purchase this planner as well, I've put a link for it in the description box below and it's on my Amazon store in case you're interested in using it too. It's a really great planner. Once I'm done, you know, drawing out the design, I then went ahead and started making the pattern myself. So to make the pattern for the dress, I was going to need a pattern for the front bodice, the back bodice, the front skirt that will be cut up into 3 panels, and the back skirt that will also be cut up into 3 panels, and a layer for the 3 ruffles. Now, as far as with cutting out the patterns, I had to be very careful to make sure that, you know, just going along with the pattern, make sure everything was cut out perfectly. So now I have all the pieces so that you can see them with the back skirt, and then I also have the front skirt finally cut out, the back bodice pieces cut out, where there are 2 parts, the center and the side, and I have the front bodice piece, and I went ahead and cut out 2 pieces in the same fabric, one for the outer and the lining. And I also have the layer piece for the ruffles. Once I had the back bodice pieces sorted out, I went ahead and sewed those 2 together, made a seam for each side. Once I finished cutting out all of the pattern pieces, I then went ahead and started sewing the darts of the bodice first. Sewing the darts first was, you know, definitely important to do that first before sewing any other pieces together, and making sure to, here's a tip, not to do a back stitch on the darts, but just to release it and then tie it at the end so that way there's no bumpy pieces. After sewing that part, you're going to then sew the straps. I wanted the straps to be as spaghetti as possible, so to a certain length, and then folding them 3 ways and then folding it again. So that way it's very skinny, and then sewing it like that. I'm sure there's probably a more efficient way, but that's just how I do it. So I was able to make 2 spaghetti straps and connected it to the front of the bodice and then put the lining on top of it. So that way I can go ahead and sew it all around the front bodice piece. So making sure that's lined up perfectly with the edges. And then once I was done with that, then I can go ahead and sew it along the edge. After sewing it along the top edge, I cut the corners so that way it wouldn't be so bumpy when I finally pulled it inside out. After pulling it inside out, you can finally see the spaghetti straps attached and be able to iron it smoothly. After you're done sewing the pieces together, it's very important to serge your seams. I didn't show that in the video, but it is very important to do that so that way the fabric doesn't unravel, and also to iron your seams as well, so that way everything lays flat and looks very professional. So now that I'm done with the bodice piece, I can go ahead and start getting ready to sew the skirt. And first thing is the darts. I went ahead and mark them out and pin them along so that I can go ahead and start to sew them. So you can use chalk or a pen, pencil, whatever, and to mark out the dart area. After doing that, you can pin it together to make sure it stays in place. After pinning it together, you can then sew it together, and that's what I did. So once you go ahead and sew that dart, you do the same thing on the other side and do the same thing for the back side of the skirt as well. So those are 2 separate pieces. Once you're done doing the darts on all pieces, you can then take the front of the skirt and then the back of the skirt and then sew them together, so that way they are all one piece. Once you're done sewing those pieces together, it is now one piece, and the next step is to turn the dress into 3 different panels. So I took some chalk and made some dashed lines across the entire dress on 2 different lines. I measured it from the top, so that way the dress was now divided into 3 panels. After doing that, you're going to cut the dress into those 3 panels, so that way it'll be easier to attach the ruffles to the dress. Now next is the layers, which will be used as the ruffles. So you're going to take two sides and sew them together so that it's now one long piece. And then I'm going to measure it so that way I can get ready to hem the bottoms of the layers of each ruffle. So after folding those over a few times, use an iron to make it a lot easier. It makes a lot easier to hem with an iron, so definitely do that. I definitely recommend. After you have hemmed the bottom of all three layers, which will take a long time, then you can go ahead and get started with the next step. Making the ruffles pretty easy, the method that I found out, which is to make sure the bottom thread comes through the fabric, pull it very long, and to do a zigzag stitch down to the end of the fabric, and then you can just bunch it up until you get a good ruffle. So after making the ruffle, you're going to go ahead and then attach the ruffle to the panel, making sure that they are evenly spread out and attached. Once it's attached, you can go ahead and sew them together, and then you do the same thing for the second panel, attaching the ruffle to the panel, and then once you're done that, you attach and sew the two panels together. So that way the two panels are sewn together along with the ruffles. After doing that the second time, then you're going to take the third panel and the third ruffle and repeat the process again. So that way now you have three panels attached to three ruffles and all the panels are sewn together. So now that everything is sewn together, the inside of the dress looks great, and so does the outside, and is now all set to be sewn together with the bodice. So putting the bodice on top and lining it all together so that way the bottom lines up with the top, and then sewing this all together. So once you're done with that, you can then add the zipper. So at the end, you just line up the pieces together and insert the zipper on the side. So then after trying on the dress, I realized that I needed a side bust dart. I totally forgot to add that in, so I had to go back and pin that in and add that last minute. Once I was done with that, all I had to do was just hem the bottom of the skirt and I was done. Now for the last step is the belt. I went ahead and cut it 8 centimeters width and 216 centimeters long. It's going to be a nice long belt that you can wrap around, and I will just fold it into thirds, and after that fold it again in half, and then of course you'll be sewing it on both sides. It's easier to do this after ironing it down as you go along, that way it's easier to stay in place. So I would just fold each part and then iron it. After that, I keep doing the same process while going down the entire belt, and after doing that until you get to the end, and then you're all done. This is such a cute dress. It came out so well. I love the way it looks. It fits really great, and it's just so perfect for outside during like spring and summer. Yes, it's fall, so it's a little bit late for all that, but better late than never. I'll be ready for next year, I guess. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, and if you would like to try it as well, just let me know, and I will link the pattern down below so that way you can try it yourself. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!